Cool. Well, thank you all for coming. Packed house. I'm Will, CEO of Vector, and today we're going to share our perspectives about what's happening in the yard, the cross-section of both operations and data and tech. Today, I have joining me, Jeff. Jeff, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. Good morning. My name's Jeff Cowan. I work at GS1 US. We're a nonprofit standards organization. We work with companies to identify things, places, entities, and such. And we use that through the barcoding technology. You know, we're not a technology provider. We're not a solution provider, but we work with companies in various industries such as healthcare and food that has recently been regulated on traceability capabilities, and to be able to identify, capture, and share information through the use of barcodes.
Thanks, Jeff. And then Derek?
Yes, thank you, Will. My name is Derek here. I'm a supply chain data systems manager at GAF. If you guys remember those Viewmasters that you could look through the film, and you could change it, look at all the pictures and stuff. So that was GAF prior to now we're the largest roofing manufacturer in North America. So we are one of the largest shippers of flatbed trucks in the country. So we do roughly over 300,000 trucks a year. So our impact is pretty big there. And we do roofs anywhere from shingles, so your steep slope shingles, so your residential houses and stuff, as well as commercial roofs too. So the flat, all the flat ones as well.
Thanks, Derek. Today, I wanted to start off with a video, just showing what we do from a data perspective, how we adhere to the GS1 standards and how that overlays on the operational activities within the yard. And then we'll talk a little bit about the data from our State of the Yard report. And then Derek also brought a video of how GAF uses Vector at their facilities, and we'll talk a little bit about the impact there. So I'll go ahead and start us off.
Contactless delivery made a real impact during the pandemic as trucks were converging upon distribution centers.
They're met with a number of business processes that they have to go through. They have to present who they are, their driver's license.
They need to wait for all of those steps to happen, and then they need to wait to back up their truck and have it unloaded.
So a lot of this is about the driver experience and also how they get in and out of facilities more effectively. There is also significant benefit in sustainability and reducing dwell time.
So the pandemic really catapulted some of the learnings and opportunities that the supply chain fulfillment part of our processes had an opportunity to take advantage of.
Companies, shippers, carriers realized that a digital experience was much faster and much more visible. So today, drivers are checking in 24 hours ahead of time.
Bring it in, tell me where I put it, and then let me go back out as easily and quickly and with as minimal interaction as possible.
The amount of time that it freed up for that transfer or that delivery was pretty significant. And in a time when labor continues to be a challenge, that was extremely important. I do believe that it's going to continue to see adoption and success.
When people think GS1 standards, they think global trade item numbers, they think global location numbers, but the opportunity to exchange all that information in an electronic data exchange format is in fact also a GS1 standard. The advanced ship notice and conveying that electronically, product and location information blended with these two areas of standards really come together for a contactless process and can be relied on with credibility and is now scaling across the country.
Logistics supply chain is a team sport, and companies using the GS1 standards will be able to deepen their relationships with their teammates, with their vendors, receivers, carriers, and it will help further them to build a more collaborative supply chain.
Thank you. Jeff, this is a an important topic at GS1. Why does GS1 care so much about technology companies like Vector developing on top of their data standards?
It's really about interoperability, the ability to communicate from a shipper, a 3PL, a carrier, to the receiver, using the same piece of information. So if I'm exchanging information with you, Will, or with you, Derek, you don't have to recode it or translate it. It's one piece of information from the beginning all the way through the end. And that's our role, is working with those various industries to make sure that the standards are consistent, they're interoperable, and they can work for everybody.
Thanks, Jeff. And Jeff, you're based in New Jersey?
I'm based in New Jersey, just north of Princeton.
Yeah, nice. And I hear you're a big Ohio State fan?
Not quite, Penn State alumni.
Very cool. And how long have you been with GS1?
I've been there just over 11 years. My background is in manufacturing, primarily with Kraft, Nabisco, Unilever, and in the supply chain role, either in production scheduling, warehousing, transportation.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you.
And if anyone has any questions for Jeff, feel free to jump in and ask anything. The mic is there. If you can, just raise your hand. Very cool. We're going to share a little bit about what we've seen in the yard over the last year. Our team has put together a state-of-the-yard report, and in it shows trends and things that we've noticed other shippers from our customers, from our partners, what they're doing in the yard. And I think there's some reports out on the chairs, and if you don't have one, feel free to come up and bug Francis for one. Francis, do you know how do I put this in present mode? Okay, got it. Thanks, buddy. Is it full screen? Yeah, full screen. Do you see that? Am I? Oh, full screen mode. Got it. Cool. Just show hands. Who today from the audience is joining us from the warehousing side? Okay, and then you? Are you on the transportation side or the IT side?
I'm supply chain manager, so I kind of have a little bit multiple of those.
Oh, cool. Well, thank you so much for spending the time with us today, and because we have a relatively small audience. Feel free to take the conversation in any direction that you like. So in our report, we got a really great mix of people that contributed to the survey. We had people across roles within a company, from management to IT, and then we also had a good mix of, I would say, size of shipper based on the number of facilities. The majority of the people that were surveyed had between 1 and 5 facilities. What's interesting is looking at, taking a step back, what are the priorities of people in these organizations over the next 18 to 36 months? What do they care most about? Where are they investing time, resources, and money in their supply chain? Overwhelmingly, we saw that between all the categories, visibility is an area where companies are still looking to invest. And then something that we hear all the time, number 2, is just the upgrades, the constant maintain and investment into existing TMS, ERP, or WMS. Just pulling the audience, do these priorities resonate with the priorities that are on your roadmaps? Very cool. Just curious, in terms of the yard, is yard even a top 5 priority in the next 18 to 36 months? Whether it be operationally, IT?
It is for mine. I have limited storage space, so right now I call my warehouse a mobile warehouse, where we're
Yep.
So our plant keeps chipping away from warehouse to add in production lines. So we've gotten to where large part of it, we have about 150 trailers that we're using for storage with materials.
Gotcha. And does that mean when you invest in the yard, investing from a just real estate standpoint, getting more space? Is it technology? Is it both?
A mixture of both. So we actually just in August started up with a automatic truck loader on our shipping side. So that's going to help reduce some of the trailers on my shipping side, allowing a little bit more for my receiving team, but we're going to convert the shipping freezer over to more receiving to get out of a third-party warehouse. So I still have to have room for the trailers for our inbound. We have a bit of a mix of drop loads and line loads. So trying to come up with better ways of, I only have so much yard space, trying to come up with better ways of having room for the carriers for the inbounds while also managing all those that we're using for lease trailer for storage.
Yep. Yep, that makes sense. Cool. What's interesting is that only about a quarter of the survey respondents use a yard management system, a software platform to manage the inventory that's in the yard. Just show of hands today, how many of y'all use a YMS? Cool. 1 out of 4, it resonates. And Derek from GAF, before you met Vector, did you all use a YMS?
Not particularly, no. We're in a digital transformation right now, so we're implementing a new WMS, which has some YMS capabilities. I wouldn't say they're super robust or helpful in all the needs that we're looking for, but with over 60 sites and 34 manufacturing sites and 300,000 trucks a year, we're turning trucks left and right. So we need we needed a better approach to the yard management solution, and Vectors help fill a lot of those gaps, which we'll talk about in a little bit here.
Cool. In terms of yard management challenges, like the top, I would say 3 are reducing paperwork, eliminating excess dwell and detention time, and helping to automate, or companies wanted a more automated appointment scheduling system. I think today, across a number of facilities that we work with, a lot of the appointment scheduling is pretty manual. Lots of phone calls, especially if drivers are early, late. Just being able to handle the exceptions has been challenging for a lot of facilities, especially during the pandemic. I actually wanted to talk a little bit about the operations at GAF while going into the benefits with Vector at GAF. Derek today has a video. But Derek, before we get into that, how long have you been with GAF?
I've been there just over a year now.
Cool.
So spent my previous roles in other parts of supply chain and planning and analytics, and now made my way to GAF to do more system-related stuff and warehouse operations and optimization in that space.
And remind me, where are you from again? Where are you based?
The Chicagoland area.
Cool. And you're a big Packers fan?
I am not. I'm a grieving Bears fan. Doesn't get better.
Cool. So you touched upon it a little earlier, but some of the challenges. It sounded like getting more throughput at your facilities was a big goal. Is that correct?
Yep. Yeah. More throughput there. A lot of our facilities were maxed out just in the recent years of increased volume. We've had traffic congestion move onto the streets. We've had it's just things are overwhelming. We can't ship more. We can't even some of the sites can't even process enough trucks to get them in the yard in time. You're talking about reducing the paperwork there. I mean, we have again 300,000 trucks a year, a couple sheets of paper per driver. You're talking over 1 million sheets of paper just to get that driver in and out of your yard. So our impact is really large across the network, and so we're looking for ways to reduce that. You think about the recent years too with COVID, so you had contactless check-ins have to come into play. So employees were using personal phones to contact drivers and get them around the yard. And then you look at, we've had some site expansions too, and it could be confusing for the driver to get around the yard in general. So which store you're assigned to, how long you could be there, go to waiting areas, things like that. So we've had a number of issues, some good, some bad, but that have come up more recently, which is why we explored this space.
Nice. And Derek, do you guys use third-party guards?
We do. We have a mix, third-party guards, and then as well as GAF employees too.
Show of hands, how many of you all use third-party guards at your yards? Yep. And has labor been a challenge?
Yeah, labor turnover, just in some of those positions has been pretty tough. So we're looking to have technology help fill the gap in some of those areas.
Cool. And give us an intro into the video that we're about to see.
Sure. So we are live with Vector, which will the check-in tool here, the digital piece. We're live in 6 sites right now, and we're actively rolling out more. But we kind of went back and looked at the sites and tried to share the benefits of what it's been doing. And so we have a couple of people from some of our sites, some of the larger ones as well, explaining how Vector is used there and what the benefits they've seen around the yard.
Cool. Francis, how do I fire it up? And then, perfect. Minimize this. This one?
Vector is a digital driver check-in tool that allows the shipper and the truck driver to communicate without the need of a guard, a security guard and or someone else to check them in. Vector allows us to communicate through a smartphone and provide pretty much everything that the driver needs to know and get them in and out as quick as possible.
When drivers are dispatched out to our facility, there's large signs that basically has a QR code, and it makes it as easy as possible for the driver to get informed almost immediately as soon as they get to the warehouse.
It also has a phone number that the driver can also text, and that immediately puts them into the Vector system and immediately puts them in a check-in queue for us, and then that way we communicate with them via the cell phone. Before Vector, we had a lot of lag time. We required someone to be out there at the gate, physically there to talk to the driver. And it was just a long, drawn-out process.
Each of these drivers would have to call in to one of 2 people to answer the phone. So a lot of them would get busy signals, or they would have to wait on the line for a long time for somebody to be able to get back to them. And Vector has really been able to kind of eliminate that call-centered kind of feeling that was just kind of chaotic. Instead, Vector is able to take each of those calls, put in that information, and put them into a virtual queue, but also keep them connected to that person if needed.
There's no doubt that the waiting period per truck has probably been reduced approximately 30 minutes, I would imagine. It really has streamlined how we do business on an inbound and outbound trucking.
It has really added an efficiency that we were missing. It's basically allowed us to focus on what's needed most. Drivers are receptive, and we try to make their experience as positive as possible as well.
We marketed this to help us be a shipper of choice. We want the carriers to know and the drivers to know that they can come in here, use Vector, and it'll allow them to get in and out sooner. Because we all know that, if the driver's not actually moving, he's not making any money. So it really is a win-win for both of us.
Thanks for bringing that video.
Of course.
Yeah, what made you guys create that video? I'm curious.
We've just seen the benefits of it. Everybody's been, all of the GIF employees have been to some of our sites that have been super busy, and the main one we talked about there was Ennis, Texas, where drivers would call and wait on a phone, wait on hold for hours, and it was just this process that didn't really seem very efficient, and so we found a solution to that, and we just started sharing it with the company, and I mean, the benefits have been tremendous of it. So we want to make sure we got the word out and people know the good things that we're doing with it.
Oftentimes with like technology, implementing new technology, there can be a lot of pain around like change management, new processes are being introduced. What has that been like at JAF?
I think it's been the exact opposite. I think this technology, putting it into the sites, has empowered all the employees on the front line to go, okay, well, it has these features today, or it does this for us now, but we would love to send drivers to do this, or we could send them around this way. And so it really empowers those employees to make those decisions and really change the way their yard is laid out. So I think it's opened the door for a ton of opportunity within the company. Obviously, the first couple of days or so, it may be a little challenging just to get everybody on board with it, but overall, it's been in the long run, it's tremendous.
Something that Jeff touched upon earlier was interoperability and being able to exchange data with your other systems. What systems does Vector integrate with or will integrate with, and what has that journey been like?
So I think we got around the system because implementing Vector, we got around the IT constraints because IT, we're currently getting a new WMS right now, so IT's been focused on that. And so Vector's been kind of able to just slide in kind of on its own without fully integrating with all the systems today. We do have it partially integrated with our TMS, so we can get appointment information and carrier information upon the check-in. We are down a roadmap here in the next couple months. We're going to get it integrated with all of our systems. So WMS, our TMS and everything. So every system, it'll keep the employees in one system at a time versus having to check them in or gate them in both systems. But that's coming down soon.
Something that I saw in the video, I saw a reduction of 30 minutes on average per driver. Are there any other quantitative metrics that you've seen or that you guys measure in terms of the impact before and after Vector?
Yeah, the most of the benefits we see, some of them can be hard to quantify. You saw in the video, we're trying to be the shipper of choice. And so we run a trucking company as well. So we're really sensitive to the driver experience coming in and out of our sites. So making sure they're as seamless as possible. And just by working in there, I mean, we're aware of the challenges they face and, they don't want to wait for a while and how can we communicate with them better. And so it's hard to quantify that experience, but we're trying to provide that to them. We're trying to get them in and out quicker. We're trying to move them around the yard efficiently so we can text them, we can give them updates. And a lot of that is just, it doesn't have to be done in person. It's just the driver can do it on their own. So it gives the driver a lot more flexibility. We can route them around the yard wherever we want. We don't have to have our employees come out, walk outside, tell the driver to go to door 6, go back inside. Now they could just text the driver, go to door 6, and he pulls up there. And so we have that communication, and it's something that's hard to quantify specifically across the board. But when you start looking at it, those times add up. When the guard gets out and talks to the driver and goes back, and then he's got to do it, a couple hundred times a day. That's pretty cumbersome. So those are some of the benefits we've seen. Where we put a big emphasis on safety.
The whole safety thing too.
Yep.
He's not walking around and that. Yeah.
Keep the drivers in their trucks. No need for them to walk around confused on where to go. They could just text that number for updates, and we can provide that to them. So you're talking about safety, you're talking about reduced dwell time, and it's just really the driver experience, making sure that they can get around safely and efficiently and feel like they're empowered in the yard. So they have, they're more cared about now than they were before, previously, waiting on hold for a while. So, yeah, those are just a few of them. I mean, the benefits really are endless that we've seen, but yeah, those are a few.
Thank you. Any questions from the audience? Hey, Don.
How do you check the drivers out?
So right now to check in, every site is laid out a little bit differently, but to check in, the driver would text that number. They would provide all the information that they would normally have. They would normally walk up to the guardhouse, write it all down on a piece of paper, hand it to our staff. They would enter in the computer. So now they enter all that information in up front. So it saves its labor efficiencies there from our guards. And then they'll route through the yard. We'll tell them where to go, what door you're assigned to, things like that. And then depending on what door they go out or they come back out the same gate they came in, we would just have a guard there and they would just click shipment complete on that. And they would be gated out at that point. Today, you have to do that in both systems, in our WMS and our and Invector. But in the future, those will be synced up. They'll be integrated, so you don't have to do that in one system. It's pretty seamless from the driver perspective. We did think drivers wouldn't be open to the new technology. You'd be surprised. The flatbed industry is very old school. Some of them carry flip phones or don't know their phone number. But we've managed to set up simple signage in a way where you can still call the number and then push text one or push one on there, and then it'll send you a text message to initiate that conversation. You can still check them in at the guardhouse when they show up. So the driver technology, the adapting to it is definitely a challenge to overcome, but we've seen 95, 98, 99% success rates among drivers, which is pretty remarkable.
You don't have to worry about shuffling papers or losing bills of
Exactly.
lading. And,
Exactly.
yeah, all that good
And
stuff.
it's kind of tough when we go in the guardhouse and you see just stacks of boxes everywhere, just bills of ladings and pack lists and everything. So this is getting us down that journey to reduce that and just eliminate it. Yeah, I mean, it's provided our staff with more, outside of the guardhouse, just with more accountability and more ammunition to go back to carriers with. If somebody's charging us detention, you can now go in there into the system and see your driver showed up at this time, he entered the wrong broker, he didn't have a load number that was correct, he didn't have an appointment that was scheduled. So you can go back in there, see the whole conversation of everything, and then you can piece together, okay, well, we're not gonna charge you because, or we're not gonna pay because, he showed up at a certain time or didn't provide the right information. So it definitely holds the drivers more accountable now than we had before.
So does the driver have to download an app, or is it all based on messages?
So I think that's something that you guys brought up when we brought this up initially, but I think the driver compliance with an app, they already have too many apps to download, so this is strictly, it's a text message, you just text it, and it'll route you, it'll just ask you questions. And for some of our sites that require more information, it'll send them a link. So let's go to a web browser, just finish your check-in here with some of the fields that we require, and then that's how they're routed, so no app is needed. It's very convenient.
When we first started the company, it was very much app-centric. We started this company almost 9 years ago, right around the time my daughter was born, which is crazy. But we focused on helping truck drivers digitize the proof of delivery process. For them, it had a pretty big impact on their billing and invoicing ability and affected their cash flow. So when we first started the company, we sold into mom and pop trucking companies. And we built a pretty good customer base. And then you fast forward to the pandemic, and that's where Jeff and I initially connected. And Dawn, shippers were looking for a way to enable social distancing at their facilities. They no longer wanted drivers to come in to the office to sign paperwork or get paperwork or scan paperwork with our app. And a number of shippers, including Coca-Cola and Clorox, they said, hey, is it possible for us to electronically just send the drivers this information that, you know, they're already on your app? Instead of getting a physical piece of paper and scanning it, we'll just send it to them digitally. And this at the time was still app-based. And it was a kind of special moment because everyone was willing to do whatever it took to get the job done while keeping their employees safe, whether it be the trucking company or the warehouse. And that's where we got started, and that's when we recognized, hey, there's a bigger mission here. You know, supply chain's massive. Everyone comes together at the yard. It's the watering hole. We need to make it interoperable. And so that's when we started leaning heavily on GS1. And as we continued our deployments and as we continued enlarging our customer base, we saw that as a part of that inclusiveness, that interoperability, we needed to meet the drivers where they are. And a lot of drivers don't want to download another app. They have app fatigue. And so that's when we expanded into the most basic form of communication, which is text messaging. So allowing a driver to go through the process, meet the facility requirements just through text messaging. And what we learned is that, hey, drivers are willing to enter a little bit more structured information, just provide them a web link to do it, you know, whether it be scanning the bill of lading, getting a gate pass, things like that. That can all be done and configured in Vector. I think one of the ways that we've made it also inclusive on the warehouse side is that most of the platform is configuration driven. So we've learned through some painful lessons that every warehouse is a little bit different, and those nuances are important. And so we've made it more of our competitive advantage to be able to adhere to a facility's processes more than dictate, like, hey, like if you're implementing Vector, this is kind of the steps that you need to do. It's not like that. We're able to, you know, for certain facilities, they have an automated gate. You know, they don't need a driver to talk to anyone. They can provide a QR code to open up the gate. Some facilities still want a digital gate pass into a driver. Some facilities want drivers to take a photograph of the trailer seal. So any of that stuff can be configured, and we really wouldn't be here with our partners, GAF, GS1, and Don and Coca-Cola. So.
And we're still early in the digital roadmap journey, but I mean, we're looking to, now that we have this technology in place, we're looking to go the extra mile now. Now we're going to get electronic bill of ladings. So we got rid of the paper check-in. We're getting rid of the bill of ladings that's paper. The pack list is going to be digital too. So everything is kind of coming together, and this is. We keep joking with Vector that they're not a yard management solution. It's more than that. It's the technology that we haven't seen anybody else do it before, and at our site specifically, it's made the biggest difference in the world. I don't think, if you go back and ask those sites if they want to go back to the days of pre-Vector, answering phone calls all day and taking driver information, I don't think they would do it.
Yeah, and as you start to zoom out from the yard management, and that's where we come in for standardized identification, you look at things like advanced ship notices, load tender, shipment status updates, all that information that's exchanged through EDI uses those standardized identifiers. So as a purchase order or a delivery comes into the yard, you use the piece of it that says, okay, it's this carrier, this driver, this PO, load, whatever, and I'm gonna put them over at this door. But even further up, it's, you know, where did it come from? Who am I gonna tender it to? Where is it now? Things like that as it moves through the supply chain. And all that information you start to bolt together. Now you get a much bigger visibility picture than you had before.
I see it says the appointment scheduling up there. Is that part of what Vector is able to do, or it just integrates with other electronic appointment scheduling?
Both. Yeah. Do you currently?
It's all manual.
Yeah.
They email for their appointment requests, and then somebody's manually managing that schedule.
Gotcha. Yeah. Yeah, we do both. I think for us, the check-in, being able to bounce that off the appointment, is very helpful from a warehouse standpoint and a driver standpoint. So we do love it.
So the appointment scheduling, is it able to turn around and give them a confirmation number when they make that appointment?
Yeah. Yeah. The confirmation number, if it's from an existing system, we just take that and send it back. If it's ours, we just give them the shipment number or the appointment number. Good questions. Any other questions? Francis, do you have any questions for the audience?
No, I mean, maybe from Derek's point of view, that you know, not everything goes perfect 100%. Like, what would you have done differently if you had to do this all over again?
That's a good question. As far as rolling it, I mean, there's been some quirks when we set it up or when a site goes live and, you know, you forget to do one or two things and, you know, we have on-site support and everything. So as far as that goes, everybody's been, Vector's been willing to help us add all the features we need and remove them and suggest new ones that could help us be more efficient in the yard. As far as challenges, I mean, I haven't, what do I do differently? I don't know. I mean, we can roll out a site now in about 2 to 3 weeks. We have a copy paste model, a template from a site that's most similar to them, dump it into a new site. We have all the information. It's pretty seamless to get this rolled out. Yeah, I don't know what I would do differently at this point. I think we've been on have a good track record so far. And excited to see all the new sites we'll be rolling out as well.
Press release with ambitious goals of like sustainability in 2030, with transportation being like the number 3 area of minimizing carbon. Do you see if this could play any role in those goals?
Absolutely. I mean, as far as you're getting rid of all the paper, everything's going digital, but you're getting driver through the yard quicker. He's not sitting idle out in your staging area as long anymore. You're getting him in your yard quicker. And then rather than having the person to come out and tell him where to go and go back into the office, now once it's integrated with all of our WMS features, and when the guy before him finishes loading, the next guy in line could get a text to say, hey, you're up now. Go pull into this door when the door clears and things like that. So we're trying to push things to get more efficient in the yard. Not just before the yard. We're trying to, being a flatbed loader, so everything is loaded. You saw the pallets on there, the shingles. Those are all stored outside. So everything is loaded just outside off of the ground. And so we're trying to use Vector to push the trucks closer to their loading zone, rather than having one specific spot to go and be escorted by a forklift driver to those spots. Can we send them to 4 or 5 different areas, send them a specific map using Vector that shows their route. So we've just been trying to do those things to make the yard more efficient and reduce that carbon footprint wherever we can.
Thank you. Any other questions before we wrap up? Well, I appreciate everyone taking the time. Thank you guys so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.